And our film industry is under serious threat after Donald Trump moved to slap 100% tariffs on all Hollywood films made overseas, which would include those produced in Australia. Think of blockbusters like Anyone But You, Mad Max or Elvis, all of which added to our billion-dollar industry. Screen Australia says that while the full impact is still unclear, the federal government should step in to help withstand a global shock like this. For their take, let's bring in Daily Telegraph journalist James Willis and the founding director of Western Sydney Women, Amanda Rose. Good morning to you, James. What can the government do here?
Well, it's a tricky one, and to be honest, like a lot of what Donald Trump has done so far in office, Nat, has been policy on the run. This is a great example of that. He said something, we don't know the full details, we don't quite understand how all of this is going to work, but and, you know, there's been talk about if a film is filmed in another country, is that enough? It sounds like it's if it's produced, as you say, with films like Elvis. But I think it's terrible for our industry, and the idea that we're going to have to pay an extra tax to get our movies into the box office in America, which is a huge market, is terrible. And it's just one of these policies that I think as time goes on, I get the feeling it'll be watered down. I can't see it being as significant as the other tariffs we've seen. But as I say, I think it's a crazy, crazy decision. Yeah,
there are thousands and thousands of flow-on jobs that would be affected by this.
Absolutely. And, you know, we take a lot of pride in our film industry in Australia. We come up with a lot of creativity and, let's face it, you know, the best actors do come from Australia and actresses. But this is where our government really does need to step in. I would say it'd be good if they stepped in prior to this and had a good relationship with America before Trump came in, and then with Trump, as soon as he came in, it should have been, OK, we don't know what this man's going to do because we've seen him before make some crazy decisions. Build a relationship with him, and this is what we have to do. You know, Albanese...
Well, he's Albo's best friend, according to Trump yesterday.
And didn't even know who Peter Dutton was.
Yeah,
so.
Well, a lot of people didn't know who he was, unfortunately, in this election campaign. But the thing is, it's his job to represent us and our industry. So this is a test, I actually think, for our government to say, what can you do in relation to having a good relationship with America, but also, if that does happen, what is the solution that you're going to provide our film industry?
OK, moving on. The challenge to pick a new Liberal leader has gone from 4 to 3, with WA MP Andrew Hastie making a quick exit, a hasty exit that leaves Angus Taylor, Susan Lee and Dan Tehan as the top 3 contenders. Well, where do we start? Because whoever goes in now, are they going to be here in 3-6 years' time? Or could they sort of rebuild the party and win an election down the track? Or are they the placeholder?
They're all nice people, but none of them, of the 3, no one is a Prime Minister there. It's so bad that the Liberal Party would be better off putting an administrator in right now, Nat, and just sort of, or a media spokesperson, just to get through the next few weeks. I've never, ever seen anything like this, and having been to a number of seats in Sydney where the Labor Party had huge margins and the Liberal Party should have won a couple of these seats, the fact that the Liberals tried to buy them with big advertising, and we all saw the ridiculous call flutes and the amount of money the Liberal Party spent in these seats, trying to think that was enough to convince voters rather than a candidate and a good person on the ground, is just so bad. They will not win another election until the people behind the scenes that we don't even know about that ran this campaign, the faceless men and women of the Liberal Party, are gone. They don't deserve to be there, and until they get that right behind the scenes, they will never, ever win government again.
Amanda, what's your take?
You're right, so they do need to clean house. And the issue here, and a lot of people, so for example, want Angus Taylor as the new leader, but we need to consider the fact that he was the shadow treasurer of a failed election campaign, and it's policies that we failed on, economic policy. And if he was responsible for that, he won't get the support by the public or members of the party if he is leader. And I think this is going to be very tight because there isn't anyone that stands out that you think, I actually like what you stand for, I'm confident in who you are, and you're going to take the Liberal Party through this mess. I think that it's going to take them more than one election cycle to get through this. They have lost a lot of good people and they invested money in the wrong seats.
How do they get back women and young people, and stop blaming the media and the other side for being mean to them.
Yes,
because they seem to be a lot of the blame.
You know what? There are, like you say to your children, there are mean people everywhere. You just got to learn how to deal with them. But the thing is, they were mean because you had no policies. And when it comes to, say, bring back women, the Teal movement is exactly why the Liberal... Well, it's a reflection of the Liberal Party not representing the professional woman, right? And they didn't learn from last time, and now it's picked up again. The reality is, if someone doesn't feel represented by that party, they will go elsewhere, and that's exactly what's happened again.
And just to give you just one example. So there's one candidate that told me that when they started campaigning, they thought in their seat, Peter Dutton just had a problem with ethnic voters. By the end of the campaign, they discovered that he also had a problem with female voters and successful, well-educated people as well who didn't believe in the economic policies. Now, if you can't win those three groups plus young people...
Because there wasn't any economic policy.
Well, they're rolling them out 4 days before the election.
Yeah, but even the ones they rolled out were so insignificant. Like, even for small business, it was for new small businesses, but nothing for the current small business. So they're like, well, no one's representing us because Labor doesn't and Liberal had nothing.
And I think also it was a referendum on nuclear, in my view, and if they're smart, they can move that to a side and realise people didn't buy it. They thought the cost was too big. They didn't want a nuclear reactor in their backyards.
And you weren't going to get the benefits for the next 10, 20 years.
20 years, exactly.
Right.
So
did they not, and maybe they didn't explain it, but we've got Little Proud saying we need to continue.
Well, it's silly. That's dumb. And they costed it in December and had 6 months before an election to try and sell this message to voters who had already made up their minds.
Now, wouldn't it be funny if Labor brought in a nuclear policy over the next 3 years? Because we know they like to do things that we didn't expect.
They've got a mandate to do a lot for years.
Absolutely.
OK, finally, a new copyright battle has emerged in Australia with high-end Sydney designer Maison de Sabre, I think you pronounce it like that, accusing national fashion chain Sportsgirl of ripping off the designs for their fruit bag charms. Take a look at this. On the left is the Sportsgirl version. On the right is the luxe one. Sportsgirl sells for $15, while the high-end version, $75. Amanda, foul play here, or is this all bets are off?
No, but it's their creativity and it's their design, and this is a small business essentially that have put in the effort and designed it, and they're successful internationally. They should be praised. I think our intellectual property laws are really bad, and this is not the first time this has happened, right? We are constantly seeing stories where there's a design on Etsy that gets ripped off by a big chain because they replicate it. We need better protections, you know. What happened to relationship building? What happened to having a collaboration where Sportsgirl could turn up and say, we like that. Can we do a cheaper version that is, say, not leather and so forth, but with your brand on it, and have some form of collaboration?
Can I make one point?
Yes, James.
I think the cheaper one's better. I think it looks better.
But what do you say?
Don't ever go shopping for your wife, James.
What do you say about if you invent the other one?
I get it. I understand that. And this more high-end brand has a $16,000 iPhone cover, as I understand it as well. But having a look at both of those, I'd be happy with the left one.
Okay,
you're missing the point. They ripped off a small business,
but I reckon it's cleaner, it's neater. Yeah, anyway, $15, good bargain.
Okay. And unfortunately, that's what a lot of people would think. But as Amanda said, we'll leave it there, shall we? See you next week.